Have some lo-fi music playing in the background, courtesy of Tokyo Tones on YouTube. If you ever get a chance to check it out, check out Tokyo Tones. Not being sponsored, so don't think this is some sponsored thing or whatever. I'm not sponsored by anybody, but when I'm just chilling, I'll listen to different sorts of lo-fi channels. Tokyo Tones is a good one because not only does it play the jazz music in the back, it gives you like a virtual tour of parts of Japan. And then there's other, sites like that online that do that. I mean, sites on channels on YouTube that take you around different parts of Japan and stuff like that, which is one of my favorite places to be. Wish I was there right now. I need to take the wife there, but it's a little bit harder for Filipinos to go there because they need to show that they need a $10,000 in their bank account, and that they have a steady job and all that sort of stuff for several months to get there, which is crazy. But um, I'm going to bring her to Japan so she can see it for herself, see why I love it. I mean, it's a nerd's Japan is like an American nerd's paradise. Anime, ramen, karate, like Tokyo, just is just the spot. But anyway, that is not what I'm here to talk about. I'm just kind of spinning my wheels for a second until I see some people jump up in the chat. I meant to do this later during the day, but I'm probably going to exercise later during the day when the temperature drops. Um, and since I've just eaten a huge meal, um, I'm going to just let this digest and talk with you guys now. If no one jumps in, though, I will end this and maybe even delete it, depending on how far I've gotten. But usually people jump into the chat within a few minutes or so. But yeah, I did originally mean to make this later on, but why not now? Okay. Um, the subject matter of this live stream is how woke companies are destroying or have destroyed our favorite franchises as children. Um, and so, like I said, I hope you guys enjoy the lo-fi and the music as we talk. But yeah, this yesterday was like a free for all conversation Friday, where we just talked about any and everything that people wanted to discuss with me, which is completely cool. I think I might do that once at least every week. But today is going to be a focused topic. Well, I'm going to try to keep it as focused as possible, which is, again, discussing how certain companies, because of identity politics and cynical marketing strategies, have destroyed our favorite franchises growing up. And this, I decided to do this because recently George Lucas gave an interview at Cannes Film Festival where he won the Palme d'Or award. I also have a video coming up just on this, so in case I never get to talk completely about what I want to talk about here, I actually have a video that you guys can watch later on that Mrs. Contrarian is editing for me that will summarize what I thought about George Lucas' interview about Star Wars and its current state. But suffice to say, even George Lucas isn't pleased with the direction that Disney has taken Lucasfilm um, in the past, uh, 12 years since he sold it to them for like over 4 point something $billion. And I mean, it was so bad that he once came on to the Charlie, I think this Charlie Rose show, and said that Disney were white slavers. That's how bad it was at one point. So George Lucas has never been afraid to speak his mind about it, And I mean, what are they going to do? They already paid him, and a lot of his, and like at least half, if not more, of that money that they gave him and buying Star Wars from him is in Disney stock. So he does want to see them succeed. So it's not like he's just hating on them, hoping that they fail. That's not the case. Being that a lot of his money that they gave him to buy Star Wars is wrapped up in Disney stock itself. Of course, he has a vested interest in seeing them succeed. But um, yeah, George Lucas himself said, Disney took it in a direction that was not at all like his original ideas. So for folks just jumping in the chat, like I said, this is going to be or try to be a focused topic on Star Wars and, I mean, not just Star Wars, but on how Disney and some other media companies have destroyed our favorite franchises that we watched as children or even as adults, and now have seen them completely destroyed through identity politics, cynical marketing, and other things. I mean, Disney has single-handedly destroyed every single franchise that they've laid hands to. The irony is that they bought a lot of these franchises to get a more male centric audience because you know prior to them buying up all these franchises, most of the company's content was geared towards like children and women. But when they bought things like Lucasfilm and Marvel, they wanted those audiences that came with it, which were mostly younger men. But then they decided to feminize the very products that they had bought for the male audience. There's a live action Moana. I have, I think I did hear something about that. Um, I couldn't remember whether they were making a sequel to Moana or a live action. I did hear about that. Like that was like 2 3 years ago. I haven't heard more about it since. Oh yeah. I did hear about it because I remember them people complaining about the actress, like her, like how her physical features versus her identity as being Pacific Islander or whatever. Yeah, so I do remember that, but that was like 2 3 years back. I haven't heard anything about it since. So yeah, I do remember that. Thanks, Recon. But yeah, like Disney is just like they they've even recently acquired Doctor Who and destroyed Doctor Who. Like, how do you destroy Doctor Who? It's such a niche audience. I don't know how they thought they could just um, spread the rainbow over Doctor Who and that wouldn't piss off the fans. So I've seen something about The Rock and the other one. Don't know about it being a sequel. Yeah, so it might be a lot because Disney has taken all their favorite uh, cartoon classics and have made live action versions of them. I mean, it got so bad that they made a sequel to a live action remake of Lion King with Mufasa, and no one has watched it. Just the fact that Beyonce's daughter's in it was enough for me not to want to see it. Plus, no one wants to see a bunch of animals like talking like humans but can't emote. Like they still have the like faceless features of regular animals, but then they like giving all these expressive uh thoughts and stuff. It just it's stupid. Yeah, they've ruined a lot of good movies, and like I said, they've ruined a lot of franchises. Like let's name them off. Pixar, which was better when it was originally created by Steve Jobs. Um, Lucasfilm, they destroyed Star Wars. Like to me, Star Wars is dead. Other than like the original 6 films, Clone Wars, and the expanded universe novels and video games and comic books, they destroyed Marvel. Like they were doing fine at first, but then after after Infinity War and all of that stuff, they just decided in the end game they just decided to I don't know I don't know what Kevin Feige's thought processes were on that. Um, and then like with Lucasfilm, they didn't just destroy Star Wars; they destroyed every major IP under Lucasfilm. They destroyed Indiana Jones, so much so I have refused to watch the newest movie. I just don't want to see Indiana Jones as a broken old man, which was far removed from how he was in the original trilogy. Even in the fourth movie, it's like, and they think like all men end up that way who aren't gay. I guess if you're not gay or whatever, like every old man ends up broken to them. Whatever. They destroyed Willow. That TV, the Willow, the Willow series was so bad that Disney actually took it off its platform. That's how bad it was. They took it off its platform because it would cost more money to keep streaming it than to just remove it. And the star of Willow has even said, what do I say to fans when they say, um, where can I go see the show? Which I mean, I don't know how many people actually come up to him saying how much, where can I watch the show? But I'm sure a lot of people like Warwick Davis, the original, protagonist. But um, that's a good question. Like, as the star of the original movie and of the spinoff TV series, what does he tell them? Like when they say, "Hey, where can I still go watch the show?" So they've destroyed every facet of all the IPs under Lucasfilm. Recon said the TV series for Marvel is what did it for me. Which one? A lot of them were bad. Like the first ones that came out were actually good. Like WandaVision was actually good. I'm like, okay, they're actually doing something different. Like I love the way they took it and had each iteration of like classic American sitcoms from like Bewitched and I Dream of Jeannie and um, Brady Bunch and all. Like I love the way they spun that. That was pretty cool actually. But then from going from WandaVision to Multiverse of Madness, the Doctor Strange sequel, and them not having any connection to the TV show that people watched was stupid because it's like there was no investment in watching the series and then watching Multiverse of Madness, and it didn't connect to the TV show. But the TV show itself was decent. So was Loki was pretty good. Although I got tired of saying King the Conquered. He's not King the Conqueror. He's King the Conquered. He was just a whack villain. Um, Falcon and the Winter Soldier was okay, but it just got it. The bad guys were just corny. Like they were super soldiers that look like regular people. I get it. It was because if they could be super soldiers without looking buff, they could fit in anywhere without looking like apparent like commandos. But it to me it was just lazy writing because that means we can just find anybody to play the roles, but no one's gonna take seriously 100-pound girl beating up 6'4", 250-pound men. Like it just was stupid. Girl with the red hair and freckles. It was gonna be a horrible movie TV show. Everything she's appeared in has sucked. Solo sucked. Falcon the Winter Soldier kind of sucked. Willow, the TV series sucked. Where she was in it, she was playing a woman that got knighted and it was in a lesbian relationship with the princess who was the daughter of Mad Mardigan. Like it was just bad. So anytime I know that little black girl or biracial black girl with the freckles and red hairs in a movie, I already know it's going to be bad. I don't even want to see it. and she's only done stuff with Disney. So I know anything Disney does and she's in it is automatically going to be bad. Just she's like the she's like the canary in the mines. Like if you see her coming in some movie or TV show, she's a harbinger that that movie or show is going to suck. Yeah. Um, but yeah, Falcon Winter Soldier, like I said, it kind of sucked, but it started off good. Um, but let's be frank, no one really wants to see um, what's his name as Captain America in this new movie. It's going to be bad. Not only that, they gave the toys already gave away the huge spoiler that Harrison Ford, who's going to now play Thunderbolt Ross, is going to turn into the Red Hulk because they already released the Red Hulk action figure for the Captain America movie. Toy, they the toy lines need to stop doing it. I don't know why Disney keeps allowing Hasbro to put out action figures for movies before they are released, and then it gives away key characters that aren't supposed to be known prior to them the movie coming out. They did the same thing with Black Widow when they released the figure for the I forgot the name of the character, but they butchered that character. Like one they gender swapped the character, and two, this character was nothing like in the comic books. But yeah, what was some other ones? I actually like Miss Marvel just because I like the character, but I can admit that the TV show, the last few episodes just got bad. Like it looks like the last two episodes of Miss Marvel, they just ran out of money because the CGI was just so bad, and the way they just got rid of the bad guys, just like okay, yeah, we're gonna go back to this other dimension. Just it was crazy. Like this, it started off well. I liked how they gave the history of the India Pakistan divide because that's like something most American audience have never seen if they didn't watch like Bollywood movies or historical dramas and stuff like that. So that was cool how they did that. Um, Miss Marvel is actually decent, but they could have done better. And most people never even watched it. And the people who did watch it, a lot of them didn't like it, to be honest. And I can't blame them. Um, Moon Knight, Moon Knight could have been better if they actually showed more of Moon Knight. It, I get it was an origin story, but it just didn't give enough of Moon Knight to actually care about the character. Um, She Hulk, the less we say about that, the better. That was just terrible. Like I don't know who thought that was a good idea. Like it was neither a good legal show nor a good superhero show. Like, uh, but I think what did it for me was Secret Invasion. That shit was so horrible, and they made the female character become the Super Scroll, and now she's like the most one of the most powerful beings in all of Marvel. Like all the female characters now are the most powerful in the MCU. So there's the Super Scroll, who's a girl now. There's of course Captain Marvel, and the and the Marvels, the sequel to Captain Marvel, completely flopped, and it deserved it because I did watch it when it came on Disney Plus, just to see how bad it truly was. It was horrible, and but like Secret Invasion, it was just bad. It wasn't even a good spy drama. It looked so low budget. Like you have a president in the ER surrounded by just a few people. Like a US president, it would have been like it, it was so low budget. I just couldn't take it seriously. And then they just killed off Maria Hill like with no pomp or flair. Like it was just okay, Maria Hill's dead. Like a key character in from agents, from Shield. It's just done. Like okay, what? Secret Invasion, and then they just made Nick look bad. And then again, just like with WandaVision not having any payoff when you watch the Multiverse of Madness, Secret Invasion had no payoff when you watch the Marvels. When you watch the Marvels, you see Nick, up on the ship for Sword, but there's no mention of what just happened on Earth because it's supposed to happen after the proceedings of what happened in Secret Invasion, but there's no mention of his of his Skrull wife who came with him on board the ship at the end of the series. There's no mention of any of the struggles that just happened between the Skrulls and the humans. None of that is mentioned in the Marvels. It, it's horrible. Um, and I think there's some other Disney Plus shows they had, but they all those Marvel shows suck. Like I said, except for the originals. Hawkeye was cool, but only like because if you watched it like around Christmas time, it was it was good for just being like a cheesy little Christmas time TV show to watch. So I'm not gonna give it too much flack, except again, the main character had to be passed off to a girl. But yeah, but like I said, all the most powerful characters in the MCU are girls. There's the female Super Scroll since they gender swapped it. There's Captain Marvel. From What If they showed that the girl who was Captain America's girlfriend, in the What If series, she becomes Captain America. Well, I guess Captain Britain or whatever, and and the Watcher basically says that she's like the powerful in all the multiverse. I'm like, really? Because she acquired the abilities through the Infinity Stones and stuff like that. So now she's like considered one of the most powerful beings in the multiverse since her and her team formed the Guardians of the Multiverse. It, it's just whack. And then of course, the Scarlet Witch, who can just take down any and everything. So now all the most powerful characters are females. Oh, and by the way, what's up, Eric? I got two Erics in the house. I got Eric Roca and Eric the Guapo. Eric Roca said they chose growth over sustainable profits. Their movies are so shallow and too controversial, even for the Chinese market they were shilling for. Yeah, because remember, yeah, most people don't remember that. Like the criticism early on in the early MCU was that they kept shilling for the Chinese. Like, they had to have like some Asian or Chinese centric character, and a lot of stuff was filmed in like places like Hong Kong and some other spots. And they wouldn't have certain controversial things in it dealing with like the LGBTQ and all that sort of stuff, so that it could play in Chinese theaters, which is a huge market for movies. So yeah, I remember that criticism because even the the actor who plays Sam Wilson criticized them for that like 8 years ago. But that's changed now. They don't care about the Chinese market now. They just going after all the Rainbow Riders. Like like they say in South Park, put a lame chick in and make her gay. So Shane is back from Dublin, Ireland. What's up? Zachary says, "What's up from Sacramento, California?" Eric says, "Zachary, can you tell Newsom that I want my taxes back?" Uh-oh. He said, "I tapped out of the MCU of Ragnarok." I actually, I like Thor Ragnarok. Like, it seems they just don't know how to do Thor. No Diddy, but like the first movie, it was okay, but it was kind of bland. That's cool. That was the first phase of the MCU. You know, they were trying to stick the landing. No one's gonna fault them for the first one being a little blasé. But the second one, then people complained it was too dark, so that's why they went the whole other way with Thor Ragnarok. Let's make it lighthearted, and I think it actually worked, especially as a counter to the first sequel, Thor: The Dark World. It was Thor: Love and Thunder which destroyed it for me. Like it was dealing with such serious topics, and they just kept making jokes when there shouldn't be jokes. It was just goofy, and they made all the gods like just petty. They turned Zeus into like this effeminate clown. Um, it, it, Thor. So yeah, Thor Ragnarok was decent for me. I couldn't stand Thor: Love and Thunder. That one was bad. Like Thor was doing like Jean Claude Van Damme stuff in the beginning to be to basically he was like being a parody of himself. And instead of approaching the fact that he was suffering from depression and lost everyone he's known with some gravitas, it you know they decided to make it just a campy film. Like even the actor said he kind of saw it as pretty lame. And then the director who think he's so fucking clever with all the little dumb shit that he does said he didn't really even know the character Thor, so he just did whatever, didn't care because he just wanted to make money to feed his children. Fair enough, but you destroyed a beloved character. So, but yeah, I can understand how they destroyed Ragnarok. It wasn't the original story, but none of the MCU movies have been one to one with any of the actual storylines in the comic books. None of them have, and that can be both a good thing and a bad thing because it means you're not tethered to making things exactly like the comic books, which could be done possibly better in a live action reiteration. So I can understand that, but I mean, I've you rarely see a one to one um thing where you bring something from the books directly on the screen and it's the same. And and like I said, MCU has never done anything that even closely resemble like the stuff that happened in the books. They'll take snippets of things that happen in the books and put it in the movies for the fans as Easter eggs. Like with Civil War when they did the scene where Steve is blocking the beams from Iron Man to protect the Winter Soldier. Like that's a scene taken right out of the first Civil War crossover. But most of that movie had nothing to do with the original storyline. So I never really expected the MCU to really follow the stories from the comics too closely. When it comes to Shang Chi, I thought was good. The first part of it started off okay, but it just for one, I don't like Aquafina. She's corny. Like it showed she kind of she had to apologize because of that movie because she had to admit that she was doing a black scent all these years when she was a fake YouTube rapper. She started off on YouTube being a rapper or whatever with this little fake black scent she said she got from Queens. Never mind, the part of Queens she lives in is not where black people even live. It's mostly affluent white and Asian people in the part of Queens she grew up in. Two, she turns the accent on and off, so she used it in Crazy Rich Asians to be funny, which didn't even make sense why someone who was from Singapore would talk in a black accent. Two, she turns it off for all her Disney shows. So for everything she's done with Disney, she turned the black accent off, which meant she that was not how she actually ever grew up talking. But it's not just because of Aquafina, but like she's in the movie, but she's not even a love interest, which makes her pointless, which they kind of make fun of in the movie itself. But two, like it to me it was just like a Chinese version of Black Panther. Like why is it every time they have like ethnic hero, they have to fight their own family, which was the same thing that happened in Black Panther. Like he had to fight his own family. Eric Killmonger. So in Shang-Chi at the end, he has to fight his own father. And then that whole CGI thing with the dragons and all that other stuff, it just got really cheesy looking. It started to look like a low budget Chinese movie, um, a wuxia film. Wuxia is like marg are like wuxia films in China are like the fantasy martial arts fantasy type films. So like Hidden Tiger, uh, Hidden Dragon, Crouching Tiger sort of thing. Like that's a wuxia film, but that's one that's done well. Whereas like the Shang Chi the ending could have been done better, as far as I'm concerned. And plus, most people are tired of the whole we're going to be in a secret fantasy thing, learning kung fu type thing, and he gains superpowers. Shang-Chi in the comic books is not. He's a street level hero. He doesn't have superpowers. So Eric Guapo says the MC loves to emasculate Thor. I don't like that. Yeah, I agree. Not to mention he's more powerful than people like Captain Marvel and stuff like that. I mean, she's powerful when she goes into binary form. She's one of the most powerful characters, but her base level powers is not more powerful than Thor. Not to mention how they fucked up the Hulk, like Eric just said. Like, because one I had one friend saying, no, they're gonna go from the smart Hulk and eventually give us World Breaker Hulk. I said, no, they're not. They're never giving us World Breaker Hulk. The MCU can't show that sort of masculinity anymore. Like, we're never gonna see World Breaker Hulk. We're not. And then they just completely fucked up his son at the end of She-Hulk. I'm like, really? That's how they're gonna give us Scar? Like just like that? Like how they introduced Scar into the MCU and She-Hulk was abysmal. Like that was just crazy. So I don't know if people remember that, if or maybe if they never watched She-Hulk. At the very end, he comes back to the Earth with his son Scar, and he just looks like a muscle bound version of a Gen Z kid. Like it was a horrible. Recon Gaming Love and Thunder turned into a comedy like scary movie. Yeah, and it was weird. I remember when it came out, people were making fun of like the scenes with Christian Bale were like all serious and like in black and white, and then you go to Thor and it's all colorful and comedic and goofy. It's like they didn't know what they wanted to do, and like I say, I blame the guy they let direct and produce it. He's not. He's. I think he's overrated. That that New Zealand guy. He's completely overrated. I just can't remember his name. He's also the one that did that movie with kid, the kid with Adolf Hitler and all this other crazy stuff he's done. He he's an overrated filmmaker. Minty Smith says, "Are you the Black Iron Man?" Only one way to know. Eric Wab says he got beat up by Thanos and then turned into hipster Hulk. Yeah, like ever since then, like he's been the smart Hulk. Well, like, he's supposed to be like Professor Hulk in the comic books, but Professor Hulk was still strong as hell. Meanwhile, in She-Hulk, he's getting beat up by his cousin after she gets her powers, like instantly they just start testing her powers, and because she's a woman, she has to be instantly already good at every single thing and telling him she can control her emotions because as a female, she's used to having to deal with people upsetting her all the time. I'm like, bitch, please, like, shut up. The character who played She-Hulk, not the actress. I'm sure the actress is lovely in real life. The character she played was an unlikable person, so it was no one. It was no reason to identify with this chick. Some 30-year-old rich feminist lawyer who complains that she doesn't get enough dick because men see her as threatening because of her powerful position. Eric Rose says they're now trying to go after the anime market now by buying Funimation and Crunchyroll and fuck that up. But thankfully, Japanese studios are pushing back. No, so well, Crunchyroll bought out Funimation, and Disney does do a lot of work with animation and stuff like that. But those are still Japanese-run studios, and Japanese do not have the same um, agenda towards pushing leftist and feminist identity politics in their country like is done here. So the only way they're gonna ruin those sort of things in anime is if those studios are produced by people here. But the stuff done there is primarily produced for a Japanese audience because Japan is so successful. They don't need to cater to the whims of the West to be successful. It's just that the West likes what they're doing, so we watch what they're doing. But they don't cater their content to the West. The West just happens to like what they make. So I don't see that happening anytime soon. I don't think. Like they do have certain things. Like Disney has bought certain animation um, franchises and have worked with them with within Walt Disney Studios. But moreover, but there's so much anime content coming from Japan and now even Korea, like South Korea. Like I don't really think we have to worry about those things being corrupted, which is why I think there's more people now reading manga than reading American comics. Ricardo, what's up, Ricardo? He says, I love your channel. Wanted to thank you for providing a safe space for us gays to share pictures and experiment with our bodies. Uh huh. Sure. Whatever you say, my friend. Eric Guapa says Aquafina is weird. Yeah, she is. Like I said, she started off as this corny ass YouTube rapper. Like her hit song was a song about her vagina queefing. That was like her hit song that made got her like to go viral. Not to mention that she has a voice like a bitch that smokes 2 packs of cigarettes every day. Um, and she's just not attractive. She's not attractive, nor is she funny. Like I said, the whole Black Sand was lame as fuck. It was just basically, I think, a way of her thinking she was funny and getting around the fact that she's not a conventionally attractive woman. Totally not. Tashi says, "Oh my gosh, you haven't seen you in months." I don't know about it. I haven't been live streaming for that long. I've only been live streaming for like the last 3 weeks at best. Eric Roca says, to be fair, Hollywood has always struggled on making a good Hulk movie. Well, yeah, because, well, see, the problem is, so I mentioned this before, when Marvel almost, when Marvel almost went bankrupt back in the 90s because of the huge comic book bubble that busted at the time because people were trying to buy up all this merch thinking that it was going to be a huge investment and it didn't end up being that way. And Marvel threw in a lot of made a lot of bad business decisions at the time. They almost went under. It, like they almost were sold to Warner Brothers to be a part of DC Comics at one point, but they staved off being completely ruined by like selling off a lot of their major characters to movie studios because at the time no one was really making big budget um, superhero movies outside of the DC movies like Superman and Batman at the time. But most of the other superhero stuff that came out was pretty low budget type stuff. So they didn't really care and they sold off like the Hulk and Submariner to Universal. They sold off like X-Men and Fantastic Four to Fox, and then they sold off like Spider-Man and stuff to Sony. And then bite them in the butt, so they started becoming a success again. And then they formed their own studios and wanted to use characters from their stories to make movies, and they lost all their A level characters, which is why they had to start off with B level characters like Iron Man and Captain America, who are now considered A level superheroes, but they weren't back then. They were like at best B level superheroes. The best were like, the most important at the time was like X-Men, Spider-Man, Hulk. And so Marvel didn't make, so the MCU didn't make those that first movie that came out with that Australian guy. That movie was horrible, and it was made by the guy who makes Hong Kong films, Ang Lee or whatever. He makes good films, but I don't I don't know why he was pegged to do the Hulk. It was just horrible. Then when they made the MCU's version of the Hulk, which was an unofficial sequel to that prior movie because it acknowledged what it acknowledged sort of that some of those events already happened in the prior movie, even though it wasn't connected with the MCU. But um, it they can only do it in partnership with Universal if the Hulk was being used as a character for the Avengers, but they didn't. Universal didn't really approve him to be used as a solo character, so they never really got to develop him outside of the Avenger films or the Thor film. That's why I said I don't think we're ever gonna see a World Breaker Hulk because I still don't think they own the rights to the character yet. I think they're only allowed to use him in connection with the Avengers, and they've completely emasculated the Hulk, like with this smart Hulk thing. And Mark Ruffalo seems very willing to do so because if you look at his political background, he's some little soy boy as well. So can't expect him to care about them giving a good representation of the Hulk as we've seen him in the comics. Like we're never going to see the strongest versions of him, like Immortal Hulk or World Breaker Hulk. Son of Sowedo's back. He said, "Hi, brother, from another. I just came to say hi. I'm going to bed now. A long time. My football team lost. Sorry to hear that. Have a good day. Speak tomorrow, brother. That's what's up." Head over Hills is back. He said, "Go Buffs." Greg Skarzensky says, "Favorite books." Well, I don't know if you're referring to comic books and stuff since that's the topic of this conversation, but someone asked me that yesterday. I was saying one of the books my professor wrote, The Contemporary Philosophy of Mind by George Ray, The Essential Batman Encyclopedia by Robert Greene, and The Skeptic's Dictionary by Robert T. Carroll. Recon says, "Want to see Mysterio Hulk?" We're not gonna see Mysterio Hulk. We're not gonna see Mysterio Hulk. We're not gonna see World Breaker Hulk. We're not gonna see Immortal Hulk. We, they're not gonna show with us. I highly doubt it. I think the Hulk is pretty much done. We might keep seeing him as the Smart Hulk, and that's about it. Because apparently, the Smart Hulk, Bruce Banner and Hulk came to some sort of agreement. So whatever. Eric DeGuavo says where DC and Marvel are messing up is by deviating from the core essence of who these characters are. They inject themselves into these characters and turn them into something they aren't. Yeah, so great example of that is Captain Marvel. In the comic books, she was Carol. People like Carol Danvers. Carol Danvers was a likable person in the comic books. Whether she was Miss Marvel or became Captain Marvel, like people didn't really care for the miniseries when she became Captain Marvel in the 2000s. But her personality didn't change. She was still a likable character, especially when she was Miss Marvel before the Pakistani character became Miss Marvel. But when Carol Danvers was Miss Marvel, she was a very like character. It was it was the direction that Disney took and Marvel Studios that made her some unlikable feminist. Like that was not part of her personality at all. And I think that had also part to do with Brie, whatever the bitch name is, the actress who plays her, who decided that they think that what makes a powerful woman is basically them acting like men. George Lucas countered that in that recent interview that he did. So I'm gonna talk about that as soon as I go through the comments. Just a harmless potato says, "Hey yo, why does he look like he knows something about all of us?" Greg Krasinski says thoughts on Evangelion Genesis. I don't have a lot of exposure to traditional anime, and this is the only one I've really given a chance. I've lived in Tokyo for a year and never got a great anime scene. I liked Evangelion Genesis. It was a little weird, but it was cool. I haven't watched the sequel movies because they just seem weirder as it got along. But um, I didn't really have a problem with him. Um, as far as you being in Tokyo, you had a plethora of opportunities to check out some stuff. Um, Guys, I'm gonna be right back if you don't mind. I gotta do something very quick. I'm gonna leave you with some music. I promise to be right back, okay? All right, so guys, I hope you enjoyed that lo-fi music in the background playing. So to further answer Greg, so yeah, the first night I was in Tokyo, I actually went to a manga cafe. Now, mind you, I think you already know this, but most people don't even go to manga cafes to read manga or watch anime. They basically use it as a cheaper alternative to going to a hotel. But uh, yeah, I mean, it's plenty of stuff to view if you're interested in anime and manga when you're in Tokyo. There's the Gundam that just got shut down a month ago, which I missed. Um, all the places you can check out anime and stuff like that. You can I think some of the studios actually do tours. But I've been watching anime since I was a kid. I think starting with like Voltron, Robotech, Transor Z, all that sort of stuff. Eric says, I think the Hulk is at his best when a story has a horror aspect to it. The Hulk shouldn't be a hero. He's a person with two conflicting personas within him, and he hates it. No, I would say the Hulk is a hero. Because I mean, he doesn't kill, and I mean, his issue is that Bruce Banner is someone who's always suffered from multiple personality disorder, which gave rise to the Hulk once he was had the gamma radiation poisoning and all that sort of stuff. But as a man struggling with you know with a psychological disorder, but he's always been a hero. Like some manifestations of the Hulk have gone over the line, but the the base character, the I mean, because there's many iterations Hulk, but the base level Hulk has always been a hero and not a villain or anti-hero. But I mean, he started off sort of like that, but a lot of um, superheroes have started off as either as villains or anti-heroes in the beginning. Um, the Black Panther started off as a villain to the Fantastic Four in his first appearance, but the Hulk is a hero. That much I do agree with. He is a hero. It's just that, like I said, they're not showing him correctly in all his in um, all his complexity in the MCU. Eric Dorotka says Robert Downey Jr. saved Marvel and Iron Man, and Marvel saved his career after doing blackface in Tropic Thunder. Nah, that's not true. So first of all, what saved Marvel was Blade. Blade Studios. I mean, Blade. The success of Blade for Marvel Studios gave them the money to do the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Um, Also, Robert Downey's career wasn't due to doing blackface. Most people think that was funny, and no one you don't know any black person that criticizes that because we saw what he was doing. He was making he wasn't doing blackface. He was playing an actor who was doing blackface. So it's not the same thing. Like he was making fun of the very type of people who would basically do who would do who would play other races in movies. So and that was the joke. So he never got slammed for doing Tropic Thunder. Matter of fact, that movie didn't even become controversial until a few years ago when Generation Z people started watching it. People from people who are millennials and Gen X thought it was funny because we saw that it was meta humor. Like it's not that hard to figure out. Robert Downey was saved from his prior problem with struggling with a drug addiction and being in and out of jail back in the 90s and early 2000s. That's what happened to him. That's that's how Disney brought him back. Not because it had nothing to do with him doing blackface in Tropic Thunder. It had all the problems. It had all to do with his problems with drugs and addiction back in like the 90s. Yep, like I said, most people, like Eric DeWapple says, most people enjoy Tropic Thunder still do. Shit's hilarious. The funniest part to me is Tom Cruise. Like when I first watched that, I didn't know that was Tom Cruise, but I knew it looked like him. And when I found out that was Tom Cruise playing the agent, the agent, that just made it even funnier. Like they've said they wanted to make a sequel to the movie with and bring him back in it, or they actually wanted to do a spin-off just using his character. So he was like the funniest part of the movie to me. But the Robert Downey Jr. thing was hilarious. Like most black people thought that was funny as shit because it wasn't him. Like I said, it wasn't him doing blackface. It was him making fun of actors who think they can just identify with other races superficially, and which like Scarlett Johansson playing an Asian character, or that chick Emily, whatever her name, playing a Hawaiian woman. So it's pretty. It's his. So basically, the criticism that he was doing of those sort of actors who do that was kind of spot on. Greg says, "Yeah, books, comics, graphic novels, anything." Uh, are you asking like what I watch or read, or because I watch a bunch of stuff like One Piece, although I haven't started watching the second part yet because this when I seen on Netflix it's still subtitled. I'm not watching anime that's subtitled and then have to keep rewatching it to every time I miss something. I'm just not doing it. Plus, since they already have pretty well known voiceover actors playing those parts, I'm just gonna wait till they get to it a point where they dub it. Plus, where they split off in One Piece, it leaves off like over 500 plus episodes from the first arc to the second arc, and I'm like, so that whole 500 plus episodes that we just missed, we're just supposed to disregard that and think we can catch up to what they're currently doing. I'm not doing it. But yeah, One Piece, Dragon Ball Super. Well, I don't know now that the creator of Dragon Ball died if they're going to continue doing Dragon Ball Super. But that One Punch Man, like I said, the stuff that I'm currently watching: Doctor Stone, Fire Force, Food Wars, um, Black Clover. Uh, Once got created into a slime or whatever. Chainsaw Man. Um, 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 Trying to date a woman in the dungeon, trying to pick up dates in the dungeon or whatever it's called. Um, this other movie about dungeon anime with them cooking monsters and turn them into food when they kill them, which is a Netflix series. Blood of Zeus, which is really good. I don't really read a lot of manga. I have a few like Bat manga, which is a Batman manga written in Japan, and then there's another type of Batman manga, but it's a manga, but it's written for an American audience. Um, then I have the first Dragon Ball Z manga, not graphic novel. I have a new One Piece that gives the the backstory to Ace that came out on Free Comic Book Day, and I have a actual death note that you can write people's names in and all sort of stuff. Um, so I have stuff like that. Eric Rowe said, "No, Tropic Thunder is a gem, but tell it to left." I'm telling you, most people on the left don't disagree with that. That's a very small and vocal crowd of people that that dislike it. That's a very small crowd. Usually, the most vocal crowd gets the most attention, even though it may be like 10 of them on Twitter. Retta says, "What's your opinion on mugging? Is it 100% bad?" I don't get the question. Yes, sticking people up is bad. I don't. That's a weird question. Eric DeGuapa says Carol Danvers was developing a following and catching the momentum when she was Miss Marvel. She was hot too, yeah. Then they made her Captain Marvel and she looked like Jarfro. Jay and Silent Bob. Oh, Jay from Jay and Silent Bob. Um, yeah, yeah. No one liked the miniseries. I think that came out in like the 2010s when they did the all new, all different Marvel reboot of Marvel Comics. First of all, no one liked that reboot of Marvel. It was just as hated as the New 52 was with the DC Comics. Like which so the New 52 came out like what 2011, right? And the all new all different Marvel came out, I don't know, 2012, 2014, something like that. I don't remember. No. Before then, like, yeah, pretty much around the same time as New 52 did, and no one liked it. They brought in all these new characters who were basically derivative characters of the original, like big marquee characters like Captain America, Hulk. They had a Korean Hulk named Amadeus Cho. Um, they made they killed the original Captain Marvel, who was a Kree soldier, was killed, and they made Miss Marvel the new Captain Marvel. Then made the new Miss Marvel the little Pakistani girl, whom I actually liked, but her powers were stupid. Um, then they have like this female version of Hawkeye and a bunch of just a bunch of characters that no one liked in all new, all different Marvel. And that's what the MCU now is pushing, all those characters from the all new, all different Marvel. It's like, why are you pushing characters that no one liked when they came out in the comics? Simply making a live action version of them is not going to make people like them. Austin Montgomery says One Piece is the greatest story ever written. You know what? The funny thing is, I refused. Like 7 years ago, I refused to watch it. I'm like, I'm not watching this trash. What is this? Because I couldn't get past the animation at first, and then I started watching it, and I got hooked. I'm like, the stories are good, like the animation isn't all that, but the the stories were great. The characters were cool, like, and as you go, as you continue to go through it, it doesn't get watered down. Like usually with a lot of anime, there's a lot of filter, which make kind of drags the story down. One Piece doesn't feel like that. It doesn't feel dragged down by a bunch of filler episodes and stuff like that. Oh, guys, we actually have the actual Don Cheadle in the audience today in the chat room. Since everyone says I look like you, he says how much you bent. I have no idea. I don't like when I go to the gym. Um, it can be back day, leg day, chest and arm day. I don't really. And some days the workstations are completely filled, so I can't get the bench. I might have to use the one of the Nautilus type equipment. So I really don't pay attention to how much I press. It doesn't matter to me. Not I care more about calisthenics and body weight exercises than bench pressing. Bench pressing isn't going to help you fight anyone. Um, Austin Montgomery says anime is greater than comics. You mean manga greater than comics? But yeah, I got you. I still like my DC and Marvel characters better than manga characters, just because I grew up with those people like Superman and Batman and Spider Man. So those are always gonna be my favorite fantasy heroes, above the manga characters. Plus, I don't like in manga and stuff like that that they often work alongside the government. Here, we pride our heroes on being on rugged individualism, which usually means going against authority, which is completely opposite in Japan. But hello again. What's up? Um, Eric says the funniest part of that movie that always has me in tears is when Robert Downey Jr. slapped a real black guy in the face for saying the N word and then whispered the Jeffersons theme song in his ear. Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, that's yeah. Like I said, the movie's just funny. The funny thing is, it wasn't. See, that's how you know you're talking to younger people when they're saying that the show is being criticized for blackface, because that was not what it was criticized for when it first came out. When it first came out, like I think it was like 20 years now, 15 years. I don't know. I don't even remember. But when it first came out, it wasn't even criticized for the white guy doing blackface because everyone understood that iron. They were being ironic. What it got criticized for was a depiction of a mentally retarded person. That's what it got criticized for when the movie originally came out. Most people don't even remember that. People on the left had criticized them for that. They didn't criticize them for blackface. That's something now that these little snowflake Gen Zs have criticized it for. But when it first came out, they were mad at Ben Stiller for his depiction of someone who had cognitive disabilities. God, like there's a we're not really talking about that today. We're talking about um, comic books and other franchises that have been ruined by media companies like Disney. And I'm about to go into what George Lucas recently just said about Star Wars. But I'll read the question anyway. But I don't expect any big answer from this because the days the days when I did live streams on religious and philosophical questions, that would have been the time and place for that. But I know you asked, could there be other life in the universe? What is a problem that is destroying the Earth, which is basically the fault of the human race? What in life can be achieved through a quote unquote normal way to live? Like, I don't know if you smoking the ganja, but again, has nothing to do with what we're talking about today. Eric says my favorite animes are Chainsaw Man and Vinland Saga. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention Vinland Saga. Vinland Saga is off the hook. Especially, I like the first season better than the second season. Really, I liked how they connected with this guy who was taught the myth by his mom that they were related to King Arthur and all that sort of stuff. Then he later realized, that it wasn't true, and like the whole first season was really good. The second season was good too, but not as much as the first season. But it's made by the same people who it's made by the same studio that made Attack on Titan, which explains the quality of it. Not just ended up seeing the end of Attack on Titan like 2 months ago. Eric Brooks says bring back Natalie Portman into Marvel or DC. As what character though? Because I think they kind of just ended it with her going to Valhalla at the end of Love and Thunder. Like she made it into Valhalla because she died fighting as a Thor. Eric Guap says I hated New 52 so much the way they tried to sneak the new Wally West and like people didn't like the original Wally West. Yeah, like I said, the only thing I liked about the New 52 was the Batman run by Snyder. That was that was great. The Court of Owls and the um, the death of the family, and then all that stuff. 0 Year, all of that was pretty good. Um, but usually, like they usually hire amazing talent to do Batman, regardless of um, what is the new iteration of DC, but then the rest of the DC universe or multiverse seems to be kind of disjointed. Like you can enjoy like just reading like Batman without having to read the rest of everything that's going on in DC, which is what I normally do. So like with New 52, Rebirth, um, I don't know what it's called now, but they're about to go into a new crossover called Absolute Power. So I'm not reading any of that. Like I might read some Batman stuff, but I'm not trying to stay connected to everything that's going on within the DC multiverse. 'Cause a lot of it's just weird, and you have to read all the different tie-ins to know what's going on. Not reading that stuff got like I said, this you're talking about stuff that has nothing to do with the current topic. We're talking about Disney ruining our favorite franchises and stuff like that. Is like Eric says, yeah, people were mad at Ben Stiller for Simple Jack. Yeah, that's what people were mad about when the movie first came out. No one cared about the blackface thing because everyone realized that it was a play, it was a meta humor. Like everyone understood that at the time. No one got mad about that I remember. Everyone was mad about Simple Jack. So I'm gonna watch it tonight. So Attack on Titan was weird, but it's the kind of weird that I like. It made sense though. You have to. It's only weird if you don't watch it from the beginning. You have to watch it from the beginning and see how it builds. Like how these people were sheltered, thinking that they're the survivors of this apocalypse, just to realize no, they're actually been sheltered from the rest of humanity, and basically they were like Jewish people, but it was like in the future, and they actually lived on the they actually lived on the African island of um Madagascar, because I think when they showed it in real life, like the real life implications was they were actually on Madagascar or whatever. But it is weird. But if you look at it from the lenses of them basically being like Jewish people, it starts to make more sense. They even had them wearing the bands and all that sort of stuff, and the other back on the other side of the of the of the island, back on the mainland. So I'm guessing the mainland could have been Africa, but like the the map was inverted. But when they said what was the real life countries that went along with that, where the Eldians were and all that sort of stuff, was like Madagascar. So it was kind of weird, but it was good. The end, the finale, you're gonna definitely think is weird. I'll tell you that much. um, Rebound sessions are staying consistent. That's it, my guy. The channel growing. Thank you, Rebound Sessions. Eric says I like Rebirth. Rebirth was alright. It's like they were trying to course correct from New 52, but they were trying to have their cake. They were trying to eat their cake and have it too, where they wanted to keep elements from the New 50 instead of it being just a fresh a fresh reboot. They took elements from New 52 and then discarded others. And the worst they did was with the Superman thing, because even in New 52 at the end of the run, they brought back the pre 52 Superman into the New 52 because people didn't like the New 52 Superman, which was just weird. So, and then it completely got disjointed to me when they did the Rebirth. Like the only thing I paid attention to was when they did uh what's it DC Comics 1000, then they did Action Comics 1000, and then Superman 1000. But other than that, I didn't read all the stuff to see how it connected everything, because like I said, you had to read all the tie-ins to figure all that stuff out, and I just don't have the patience to read all the tie-ins if it's only one character I care about. Eric Roker says, "Have you ever seen the anime series of Iron Man that they did back then?" Yeah, I did see it. It used to be on Netflix for a while. I remember the plot was Tony Stark passing down the torch to a new generation. Yeah, I was, all they had all of them on Netflix for a while. It was the so they had the anime Avengers. Actually, no, I think they're all on Disney now. When like back in like 2022 or early 2023, they started taking all their properties back once the I guess the contracts ended with a lot of these other streaming platforms, and they had the anime Avengers on it because there was an anime Avengers, there was an anime X-Men, um, and then there was some other anime stuff for Marvel that they had done. One of them was horrible. I can't remember which one was really bad, but it wasn't X-Men. That one was pretty good. I think it was the Avengers one that was kind of bad. Eric the Guapo says Superman Rebirth leading into Super Sons was my favorite. Seeing Superman in a fatherly role teaching his son how to use his powers was a concept I wish they spent more time on. I mean, he's done it before with Superboy, with the one who was like a clone of him and Lex Luthor. They did that back in the day in the pre-52 era. Not so much as a father, but he sort of played like a big brother role to him. I should say to John Kent. So, but all right, since I got to those comments, I'm gonna mention, like I said, I decided to do this live stream. So a few days ago, there was the Cannes Film Festival, in Canada. George Lucas received an award, the Palme d'Or. I don't know how to pronounce it because my French has suffered in the last 30 years since I left high school. But um, he was interviewed after receiving the award about his thoughts on Star Wars since he sold it to Disney. Well, I mean, he sold the whole Lucasfilm. Most people think, Star Wars, but Lucasfilm is a bunch of different properties that, he sold to them for like over $4.3 billion, I think. And he was pretty direct in answering all those questions. He said, since taking over Disney, they went in a different direction from his original ideas, as most fans have said. Um, he also said that they fundamentally don't understand a lot of concepts like the Force. But he said, once they started making new Star Wars projects, he backed away because he knew that it would be kind of inappropriate for him to be telling them what to do now that he no longer owns the properties. So he never came on as like an advisor to these movies and Disney Plus shows that they did. Um, and he also kind of defeated the idea that people were saying that like Dave Filoni and Kathleen Kennedy were picked by him to lead the company. Look, that's not true. Dave Filoni does not understand Star Wars. People think this because Dave Filoni worked with him on Clone Wars that he was like his protege. He was not. In a separate interview many years ago, George Lucas said he has no protege, that he has worked with some people with projects outside of the main movies, but that, out, besides that, he didn't have anyone that were his proteges in Star Wars, because pretty much Star Wars starts and ends with him. Um, he also talked. He also went against the people giving criticism about the original movies. People who try to now say, well, the original Star Wars is just about a bunch of white men. He was like, that's not even true. He said most of my characters in Star Wars were aliens. He said when you look at the first movie, a lot of those actors on the set were Tunisian. They weren't white people. And he said several of those Tunisians were dark skinned people. Um, and on top of that, he said he's always had, you know, people, minorities in his movies. He said you have Lando in the first one, but he said but when you have people like Samuel Jackson in the prequels, he's one of the top Jedi. He's not a scoundrel like Lando is. On top of that, he was like, look, we've always had powerful female characters in Star Wars. Princess Leia was the leader of the rebellion, and he said Queen Padme Amidala was the same in the prequels. He said, and then he also went out and said, you don't create simply putting a woman in pants doesn't make her a powerful hero. He said a powerful female character is one who can wear a dress or whatever she wants to wear, because it's not how she looks that she acts like a man that makes her be a hero. It's her ability to lead people, her bravery, her logistical skills. Those are the things that make for powerful female characters, and they don't understand that. So George Lucas went in. He was saying all of this stuff. He also addressed rumors that he would come back for another project, and he said, "No, I'm retired." He said, "I'm currently working on a museum in Los Angeles, and that's what he'll be doing right now. He's not." He said he's retired from filmmaking. So he addressed all these issues, and it basically confirmed what Star Wars fans have said for a long time, that Disney doesn't understand Star Wars. And then, I mean, look at the newest thing they got on, the Acolytes, which is a show from some bitch that used to work for Harvey Weinstein, that claimed she wanted a Star Wars show that reflected her identity as a queer woman. So what does that have to do with Star Wars? Identifying with your identity as being a queer, ugly, fat bitch. So let me get back to the comments. um, Russian Superman was my favorite. Red Sun, yeah. I haven't read the I haven't read the graphic novel, but I did see the animated version of it. It was decent, but it's not something I would probably buy the book, just because I like my Superman the old fashioned way. I don't like, and it plus it came out at a time where everyone was making these evil superhero, I mean evil Superman spinoff things. Like you got, remember the movie that came out, the bright, what's it called, Bright something, where the kid basically is like, what if Clark Kent was evil as a kid. um that was that. Then there was, you know what's the show, the two shows on Amazon Prime, like both of those are evil Superman, and people have commented that would make sense when the person who runs Amazon looks like Lex Luthor, Jeff Bezos. But what's the thing with all the evil superheroes that's designed by a corporation? I love that show, by the way, but um, it seemed Red Sun came out around the same time that all of that stuff became popular, like making these what if scenarios of what if Superman was evil, and it was like, not that he was actually evil as the Red Sun. It was just like, what if he was brought up in this within the Soviet Union? But um, it wasn't. It didn't hold my attention enough to buy the book. But I did watch the film. Last Son on Earth was another great Superman story. I might read that one. Yeah. Um, haven't seen that one yet, but I'll take a look. Yeah, all the DC animated movie universes stuff was pretty good until they ended it with the Apocalypse War, and then restarted the whole DC animation franchise under the Tomorrowverse, which I don't recommend. Eric Wilkes says George Lucas sold Star Wars because he was creatively bankrupt after the prequels. That wasn't true. Um, they were doing well. No, what he said was he he felt he. I mean, he was already like, um, he was already like in his 70s when he sold in 2012. He just said, he said, I wanted to do a sequel trilogy. He said, but he said, I just don't think at my age I can continue doing this stuff. So he said, I'm just gonna retire. And he hasn't really done much since he did an animated film after that, you know. But after 2012, he's been pretty much retired, as he said. Like, he hasn't really done much other than some animated film, which has nothing to do with Star Wars. but he just said he didn't have the energy to give to it anymore, so he'd rather sell it to them. Plus, he had worked with Disney for decades in the past, so it kind of made sense that he sold it to them. And he was friends at the time with the CEO. What's the guy name who came back as CEO last year? So that was the reason he sold it, is just because he didn't have the energy to do it anymore. So his greatest contribution was among corporations realizing the power of merchandising. Hmm, I don't think so. Like Disney was already he he wasn't showing Disney how to do something that they haven't already been doing for like the last 100 years. Um, it was a property that they wanted from him because it was a male audience they were looking to grab, which is ironic that they then feminized the very franchise that they were looking to grab the male gaze. So Eric Guapo says they didn't make an animated movie on Last Son on Earth. It is a three-issue Elseworld miniseries where Superman was born on Earth. The Earth was destroyed, and Mom Pa Kent launched him to Krypton. Yeah, they haven't done an animated film on it. I was saying they did one on Red Sun. It's an interesting and fun and quick story. Invincible is the only deconstruction of Superman I like. Yeah, so Invincible, and then I still can't remember the name of the other show. Um, but it's season 4 will be coming out, I think, either later this year or next year. The dang, what's it? I forgot the name. The Boys. That's right, The Boys with the evil corporation. Yeah, Bob Iger, right? Yeah, so George Lucas and Bob Iger were friends, and despite him calling Disney white slavers like 9 years ago in the Charlie Rose show, he actually went to defend Bob Iger because they're two of the biggest stock owners have had bonded together, and they were trying to do a takeover of Disney and force Bob Iger out. George Lucas also being one of the big 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 stock owners of Disney, came to defend Bob Iger against the takeover from this other guy, uh, Nelson something or other. CC Motion says did research so you can combine a Philly shell and peekaboo style, but you'll need tons of stamina to interchange them in the fight. That's good. I mean I did mention that. I mean that's not the focus of this live stream though, but yeah, like I said, you can do both, just not at the same time. Yes, yes. People say I look like Don Cheadle. I can't say pronounce your name because it's in Cyrillic alphabet. So um, they probably are, like the whole Cyrillic thing. Like, why would you put your name in an alphabet that people can't understand? But they're saying Don Cheadle. Like I said, I don't look anything like the dude. Like, so I don't really even pay attention anymore. If I get it too much, I'll just time them out. Of course, if they don't have anything to add to the conversation. But anyway, back to that. So yeah, George Lucas pretty much confirmed what a lot of Star Wars fans were saying for a long time, and then people were trying to gaslight these fans, saying, "Oh, you Star Wars fans just hate Star Wars, or you guys are just sexist," or and none of that stuff is true because we love the female characters. We love the the non-white characters. What we didn't like is people making Star Wars that didn't resemble Star Wars. And the and like I said, after this interview goes viral that he did, Disney is going to be doing a lot of damage control. Just like they had to do damage control when that South Park episode came out making fun of Kathleen Kennedy. They're going to have to do damage control when this Cannes Film Festival interview gets more widespread across the internet. Because like I said, George Lucas was very candid about what he thought. That he said that they don't understand that Disney is not using his original ideas. They don't understand his concepts like the Force and stuff like that. That their criticism of his original movies are misguided because he's always had diversity in his early films. So they're gonna be doing some damage control. I see it within the coming week or two. The new Joker movie, I'm not. I don't like the approach. Like the first one they did was cool because it took from two classic movies. It took from Taxi Driver, which had Robert De Niro, and it took from The Comedian, which was another like movie around the same time. They showed like the old New York City. But this I can't watch just because it's a musical. I'm not going to the movies to watch a musical, and I don't really care that much about what's her face. She was okay in Sopranos, but I don't want to see a whole movie with her in it. Plus, I'm tired of the Harley Quinn character generally. Like after Suicide Squad came out, I was just so tired of the character. Every time I went to a comic book convention, it was like a million bitches dressed up as Harley Quinn, and it's like they're annoying. Like it's like they're just glorifying some psychotic slut. Like, I, and as her popularity grew, DC just kept reinforcing her, giving her her own TV show, and then they just completely um, fucked up the Birds of Prey. It's like if they were gonna make a Birds of Prey, they should have made a Birds of Prey movie, but instead it was all about Harley Quinn, who wasn't even one of the original members of the Birds of Prey, and the movie just ended up being about her. Like it was just it's just stupid. So I'm tired of Harley Quinn. So I can't. I'm not going to pay money to see a movie that has another thing dealing with Harley Quinn. Plus, I don't want to see a musical about them just basically like being in Arkham Asylum. Like it just I'm not for it. No, you can say it. I don't care. Like I don't want to see a musical. Like I'm not paying money to go see a musical. I'm not. Is it we try not to remember Suicide Squad? Hard to do. Like every I don't know about like people on your timeline on your Facebook and stuff, but like there was always someone on my timeline when that came out talking about they wanted to love like the Joker and the Harlequin. I'm like, bitch, what? Like, do you know their relationship? Like, that's a toxic relationship. He doesn't love her. He just manipulates her to do his will. Like, and then the movie had to be heavily like redone to make it look to change the original way it was supposed to be. Like the original way it was supposed to be was like they had a serious falling out. He was like doing all sorts of crazy stuff to her because it was supposed to be more Joker centric. The original cut of Suicide Squad. That's why the director now is trying to say he wants his own Snyder cut version of the Suicide Squad the way they did Justice League. Because they changed the way it was going to end and stuff because people complained that after Batman and Superman had came out, it was too dark, so they they re they reshot a lot of stuff for the Suicide Squad so it wouldn't be as dark as Batman versus Superman was. So the Harley Quinn animated series did her justice. I don't like it because it it makes everyone else look bad by proxy in the show. Like they make Commissioner Gordon look bad. They make Batman look bad. I don't care about them making Joker look bad, but like yeah, I don't like how it does the superheroes in the Harley Quinn show. Like I get it's supposed to be like a comedy, but I'm just tired. I'm tired of the character. And now they have Joker has a new girlfriend, whatever her name is, which is just another version of a Harlequin, basically. And but her and Harlequin are like fighting each other and stuff because Harlequin now is somewhat of a superhero or anti-hero because apparently anyone that people like can't just be a villain. Now they have to be an anti-hero. So that's my rant. I can't stand the Harlequin character. I wish they just kill her off. I like the original Batman the animated series version of her. His stepdad Joker is the best Joker. Eric Guapa says Harley Quinn in the Batman name is, yeah, that's literally, yeah, literally just what I said. Like that was the best version of her. I didn't mind that. And when Suicide Squad first came out, I didn't mind either because they kind of used a version of her that came from the Arkham games, which I never really played, but I was familiar with it, so I knew they were using the Harley Quinn that came out of the Arkham games more so than the one that came out of the original TV show. But that was cool. But then it, once it became popular, they just ran it into the ground, and they still doing it. Like I said, almost every like it seemed like 2 out of 3 women, if you go to a comic book convention, would be dressed as her. Even now, you'll see a lot of them dressed as her, and I'm like, because usually I like taking pictures of the cosplayers, and now if I go to a comic book convention, I'll just completely ignore the girls dressed up as Harley Quinn. Like I won't even like. I'll wait till they're out of the picture so I can take a picture with the other cosplayers, just because I'm tired of seeing these bitches dressed up as Harley Quinn. Um, but at least, but now that we're talking about DC, DC hasn't been as bad with ruining franchises. Well, Warner Brothers, I should say, hasn't been as bad with ruining the franchises as um, Disney has, but they have ruined it just in different ways. Like they just were trying to do too much. Like they wanted to make DC dark, which is the antithesis of what DC Comics is like. But because the way they wanted to set themselves apart from the way the MCU was, so they originally made the Snyderverse this dark and gritty universe, which doesn't make sense because most of those heroes aren't dark and gritty. That was only Batman. But to make an emo version of Superman, like in Justice League, literally everybody was mopey. Like Bat, like it seemed like Batman was actually like normal compared to the rest of the characters. Like you made Cyborg mopey, you made Superman mopey, you made Aquaman's mopey. Um, like I think the only one that wasn't brooding was Wonder Woman, but like almost everyone was moody and brooding. Like that's just not what the Justice League is like. And then I had debates with people about why Snyder left the making the DC films, and people kept saying, well, it's because his daughter committed suicide and he left to take care of that. I'm like, no, that was what they put out in that's what they put out in the public. He had already been fired before his daughter committed suicide. They used that as a way of giving him grace when he left, but they had already decided they didn't want to go in that direction with him because he was still getting executive producer credit on all the films that came afterwards, even though he had nothing to do with them. But so they wanted to go in a different direction than him because originally they wanted Zack Snyder to be basically their Kevin Feige, but he fundamentally misunderstood all the characters he was doing. He doesn't understand superheroes. He thinks he's basically just an edge lord who's a director saying, well, everyone says Superman doesn't kill, so I'm gonna make him kill. Why? Because just to be edgy. Like he's an edge lord. Like there was no reason to make Superman kill just because people saying that's fundamentally against his character. Then did the same thing with Superman. With Batman, you made Batman a proto-fascist. Like not only was he killing people, he was actually branding them so they would get murdered in prison. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I was like, has he read these? Does he know anything about DC superheroes? Like, he obviously doesn't. Yeah, Superman was the character that everyone else looked to for hope and inspiration, and you made him a mopey emo character. Like, That's why a lot of people said James Gunn has a lot on his plate to rectify what happened with the Snyderverse, and that's why everyone was criticizing that photo that came out of Superman just sitting there putting on his boots, as you see some sort of attack in the background, because they's like, oh boy, here we go with another Superman who's like out of touch with humanity. Yeah, right. Eric says Snyder only makes good movies when he adheres to a script he did not write, such as 300 and The Watchmen. I think he did have a lot to do with The Watchmen, and Watchmen is a mixed bag. 300 is great though. I love 300. Watchmen is more of a mixed bag. Um, as Eric Rose said, they gave Batman a shotgun. So, and that would that, I think that was the nightmare sequence though. It's worse though. I'm glad they fired Snyder. So what he wanted to do, he wanted to make the Justice League similar to the Infinity War and Endgame for Marvel, just a darker version. So he wanted he wanted Superman, like while he was evil, that Batman and Lois Lane ended up in a relationship. He ends up getting Lois Lane pregnant. Batman gets killed. So like in a nightmare scenario where Superman is basically running the Earth under Darkseid, and then it takes them getting Superman back on the good side and them going against Darkseid and all this sort of stuff after he's basically destroyed the world. And Superman raising Lois's son that she had by Batman. I am so glad they fired him before he got a chance to make that movie. That would have been fucking horrible. Like, why would you do that? Like, we already seen Lois with another child in the Return of Superman that came out in 2006, and a lot of people didn't like that movie. I actually liked it kind of, but I didn't really care for the fact that she had a son with a new husband, and then Superman just comes back in their lives, and it's just like, oh, everything is cool. Then you realize that's actually Superman's son that he had with her before he left to go find Krypton. Like, what? Yeah, 300 is almost one to one with the comic. I actually have it right here, on my shelf. It was a great movie because it stuck closely with the book. The sequel was horrible. Well, I don't know if you saw the sequel to 300. That was not good. I don't know if that was based on the comic book or if they just made a movie, but it barely had the 300 in it, since I mean most of the Spartans died. The Spartan army died in the first movie. Um, but it wasn't mostly the Spartans. It was mostly the Athenians fighting in the second movie, and it was on ships. The sequel was trash. It was trash. I only watched it once and I couldn't watch it again. I don't think most people even remember there being a sequel just because it did so poorly. But I don't think Frank Miller wrote a sequel to 300. I think the studios made that up. That's why it was so bad. I think if Frank Miller actually wrote it, it would have been much better. But yeah, guys, I'm not gonna hold you guys for too long. I just wanted to get into the fact that, like I said, Disney has ruined a lot of stuff. Pixar is trash now. Pixar used to be great, but then when they start making just direct to Disney Plus movies and shows, it was just horrible. That one movie they made last year with the gay son and I didn't even understand the point of that movie. It was dumb. Um, and then like I guess they're doing um a sequel to Inside Out, and then I haven't heard too much about the Elementals. I heard Elementals was good or okay, but I wasn't watching it. Michelle says hello. What's up, Michelle? So yeah, the Pixar movies fell off. Like I said, the MCU fell off after Endgame. All the Lucasfilm movies have been bad. Like the newest Indiana Jones, the Willow series, All Star Wars movies except for Rogue One sucked. Rogue One was good. Um, and I think privately the director even said that George Lucas told him that he enjoyed the movie. He said for him that was like the biggest compliment that George Lucas liked the movie. Um, then the first two seasons of Mandalorian were pretty good. I think. I don't know what George Lucas' thoughts were on that, but he does sometimes come. He is sometimes invited to come on set to watch them filming, and they showed him holding Grogu and looking at because I'm sure he was interested in what they were doing with Ahsoka, since that was a character he created with the Clone Wars. Which, like I said, they set her up pretty well in Mandalorian. Then they completely destroyed her when they gave her own series. Like it just didn't make any sense. And then what's up now with lightsabers not killing people anymore? Mind you, they are hotter than the sun. And then when it goes into when you're stabbed with it, it's not just destroying whatever it where it stabs you. It's going to just pretty much wreck all the organs right next to wherever you were stabbed. There's no way you should be surviving getting stabbed with a lightsaber. But now it's now just looked at as like a gunshot wound. Like, oh, he got stabbed by a lightsaber. No, you were supposed to die if you got stabbed by a lightsaber. It's freaking hotter than the sun. Those swords. Yeah, don't watch Ahsoka, Eric. Yeah. See, I haven't seen Ahsoka, but Rosario Dawson is sexy, and if I ever get Disney Plus, I'm going to watch. She was sexy 20 years ago. She's like 47 years old now, and she the way she tries to her does her fighting scenes shows her age. Because Christian Hayden, when he came back to reprise the role as Anakin in Ahsoka, he was still on it. And it's sad because you can tell they're actually slowing the fighting sequences up so that she can keep up with him in the fighting scenes. Just like when she has to fight, um, I forgot whatever the witch name is, but the actress who plays her is Diana Lee Inosanto, who's that real life daughter of Guru Dan Inosanto, the guy who has the Junfan Chikundo martial arts community. She was Diana Lee. Bruce Lee also considered her his goddaughter as well, because like I said, he was close friends with Dan Inosanto, who took over the Chikundo schools for him when Bruce Lee passed. So she's well steeped in Filipino martial arts, Janfan Chikundo, and so she was able to choreograph those scenes well. But you could tell they had to slow stuff down so that Rosario Dawson could keep up because she's a middle-aged woman. So force healing. No, force healing isn't bullshit. It's just the way they did it in the sequels. It was whack because it's just like it just came out of nowhere. But there was force healing before in the Star Wars, like in the expanded universe, and I, I I think they did some force healing in I'm not gonna say that in the prequel trilogy, but in the Clone Wars they did force healing. So it's not a new thing. It's just it the way they did it in the sequels was cheesy. Eric said she can still get in her 40s. Like I like that when she first did that movie, the Spike Lee movie, He Got Game. That's when she was hot to me. She was uh she was even um she was even okay in in Luke Cage. Even in Luke Cage she was alright when she played nurse was it Nurse Betty or whatever. She she was she was pretty in that too, but as Ahsoka, she just doesn't look like Ahsoka. Now when they used they did an episode when they went back when they did a flashback to the past and they showed how Ahsoka looked as a kid. She looked like Ahsoka, like she looked just like Ahsoka because it's the same girl who played the kid version of Gamora in Endgame. The same girl played Ahsoka, and she looked like Ahsoka, and she could fight and flip around like Ahsoka. Like that to me was Ahsoka. That's what they should have done. But as a grown Ahsoka, she just doesn't resemble her at all to me. Eric says, I would imagine lightsabers causes gases and liquids to expand so much where it would just cause mini explosion when using on some. So the guy who does the Beyond Science YouTube channel, he actually did a whole thing on lightsabers and show why, if someone came in contact with a lightsaber, it would be like pretty much instant death. Like when it goes to in someone's body, it's going to liquefy all the organs and tissue that are surrounding where the wound. This is why it makes such a good weapon to sever your body parts, like severing hands and legs and stuff from people, because it's going to cut clean through. Like when it's a it's a it's not a laser. They call it a laser, so it's not actually a laser. It's actually a plasma. It's like a plasma sword, and it's controlled within an electric field, and it blazes hotter than the sun. So it's no way you just gonna get stabbed by it like Sabine Wren did. And Sabine Wren was an original character from Star Wars Rebels, which was another animated series that came out after Clone Wars. Sabine Wren came out of that, and they made a live action version of her that was in Ahsoka. She gets stabbed, and then she's just okay like a few days later after healing. I'm like, really? And then in Kenobi, the the black girl who became part of the Sith Inquisitors, she was stabbed both as a child and as an adult, and she still survived both times. Both both by Anakin, when he raided the Jedi Temple and killed everyone, she survived. And then as an adult, as an Inquisitor, she tried to rebel against Darth Vader, and then he again handed her ass in a fight, and she still survived. I'm like, so yeah, so lightsabers don't mean death anymore. Meanwhile, Han Solo got stabbed by by his son in Force Awakens and instantly died. Like, so whatever. Sorry, I just had to it just reconnected, guys. I hope everyone's still here. Dimitri says, "What did you eat for breakfast?" Didn't eat breakfast. I'm not a breakfast guy. um, Eric Roca says to Eric Guapo, "You're right. It's rapid expansion of liquid. The water inside you vaporize. Yeah, so it's gonna vapor. It's like exactly right. So it vaporizes everything, it liquefies. Like it's pretty much a horrific death if you're stabbed anywhere within your torso. Is death. And like the fact that Sabine Wren was stabbed in her midsection, she should have died. Like she should have just pretty much instantly died. So, also, another spoiler was Ahsoka kind of gets killed or semi killed, whatever you want to call it, then goes to the world beyond worlds, the same place she was in Rebels. And people were saying the world beyond worlds is just some bullshit Dave Filoni created just so that every time that Ahsoka dies, that she can be pulled back to life. Because that's literally what happened to her in Rebels, is that she goes to the world between worlds to be saved by someone jumping in between the world between worlds and from the future and saving her in the past, which was her present. But it's stupid. Lightsabers are living like kyber crystals. No, so from what I understand, the kyber crystals aren't alive, so to speak. Um they have. I, I could be wrong. I don't think that kyber crystals are alive. I think they have important properties that they imbue. Like just like we know now that the the colors of the lightsabers are due to the kyber crystal reflecting basically the person's use of the force. Like, um, but the kyber crystals don't have any color themselves. So if it comes out blue, it's because that's someone who's strong in their physical skills and pride themselves on being a, a duelist, where someone who has a green lightsaber is strong, has a very strong spiritual connection to the force. And those with like the like yellow lightsabers were sort of like people who had a strong spiritual connection to the Force, but were also very physically adept, and those were the people who would make up the Jedi, the I forgot what you call it, the Jedi guards or consulate or whatever they call them. I can't remember. Whereas the red were kyber crystals that were filled with all the Sith Lord's rage and suffering and all that stuff, and it bleeds the crystal, which turns it red. But most Sith actually prefer to use synthetic crystals instead of real kyber crystals. Eric says that would be cool to see on screen. Imagine Qui-Gon getting stabbed in the stomach, and that'd be kind of graphic for Star Wars, which has always been like PG-13. The closest we got into R-rated Star Wars was Andor, which I know some people love, but I didn't find that great. Um, but anyway, guys, I'm about to get off. After I reconnected, I'm not sure if anyone's still here. If people are still here, you can please let me know you're still here. Otherwise, I know that I'm disconnected from the chat, which means I'm just going to end this. But to sum it all up, like I said, Disney has ruined some of our favorite franchises over pushing identity politics. This the the irony of this is that Disney themselves, the corporation, aren't actually very don't really care about identity politics and stuff like that. They're using this just as a way. This is just them marketing themselves because there's a part of them that still appeal to very conservative things. They do that on this one hand, and then on this other hand, they try to appeal to the left, and to do so, they're willing to destroy beloved properties. But Disney themselves isn't woke. What they do is they do woke as a corporate strategy, which is very cynical. And they were willing to destroy our favorite franchises in order to project their strategy. Now, now don't get me wrong. There's some people working for them that are definitely woke, like the people who are running Lucasfilm, like Kathleen Kennedy and some of these people like Kevin Feige and all these people. Yeah, some of these people are woke, but the head of the corporation themselves, they don't care about that shit. Um, to them, it's just a marketing strategy, and it keeps you away from looking at their how their businesses themselves are not woke at all. But that might be another topic for another day. But um, I will be putting out, if you guys are interested, a video where I basically discuss the same thing. It'll be a much more like short format, like 5 minutes long, just discussing, if you missed me talking about it here in this video, the interview that George Lucas did at Cannes Film Festival a few days ago. But thanks, guys. I don't want to keep this going because, like I said, we reconnected and I can't see the chat, so I'm gonna just catch whatever you guys said after I upload this. All right, but appreciate both Eric the Guapo and Eric Roca coming in. Dimitri was back. Everyone else was back. Some of you guys had to go to sleep because you're on the other side of the country. So that's it for me, guys. Thank you.